Hi guys, it is Aoife from Friday We Days Laughing and I'm here with another tag video today. So I was recently talking to Becca over at Bookworm Becca, and she was just mentioning that she didn't think there was a Wizard of Oz book tag and she really wanted to create one. So she got in touch with me and asked if I had any kind of ideas for different questions, and we kind of came up with a few different questions, and we have decided that we will do a video, both of us will upload our videos and introduce this tag to the booktube world. So I will leave a link to Becca's channel down below. I really urge you guys to check her out because she is great, and I will just get straight into the questions. So the first question is Dorothy, a character that is out of their element, and for this one I'm going to go with the main character in The Girls by Emma Cline. I think her name is Evie, but yes, I just think Evie is so out of her element for all of this book. She's kind of sucked into this kind of cult-like family, and all the people are older and more experienced and a lot more messed up than she is, and she's kind of following them around, and you're really begging her to go home to her like other 14-year-old friends and go home to her mom and to her safe house and not be like hanging out in this weird farm with these weird people. And I think she doesn't even realise she's out of her element. It's more that the reader knows she's out of her element and knows that things are going to go wrong, and you're just really urging her just to step away and to go home and to be safe. And it's a really great book. I really recommend people to read it, but she's definitely a character that is out of her element. Number 2 is Toto, your favourite sidekick slash pet. And for me, there's so many of these that I could choose, but for me in particular, I'm going to choose Storm from the Faithful and the Fallen series by John McGuane, which you guys have heard me rave about so much on this channel. But Storm is a wolf, and she is owned by Corbin, who is kind of the main character, kind of one of the main characters in the book. And she's just amazing, and she's just so loyal, and she's loyal and independent at the same time. She's loyal to Corbin, but again, she's able to go out and kind of survive by herself as well. She doesn't kind of depend on Corbin to do things for her, or to feed her or protect her, but she kind of comes back willingly to him quite a lot when she could be quite okay on her own. But she is just amazing. I absolutely love her to bits. 3 is Over the Rainbow, a book with a beautiful cover, and I have to go with On the Other Side by Carrie Hope Fletcher. This book is just absolutely stunning. I love it, and even the hardcover of it, like the inside for starters, the hardcover looks like this, and then the inside pages are like this. And all these kind of elements of different things to do with the story in the book, like the sweets and the pears and the bird and the violin and stuff like that. They all have different things to do with the book, so they all mean something, but I love this cover. It is just so pretty. 4 is Yellow Brick Road, a book that took you on a journey, and I'm going to go with Hero Born by Andy Livingston. This is a kind of high fantasy book that I read a while ago that I got off NetGalley, and it is about a boy who is captured by slavers, and then he goes on this kind of crazy journey to all sorts of different places within his world, like from the sea to, then he goes to kind of like this Viking-esque kind of land, and then he goes on this crazy adventure within this kind of Viking family slash like tribe that he ends up having to pretend that he's not a slave, but that he's kind of like a page to the captain of the ship, and he ends up going on all these crazy adventures, and you're just kind of like up and down and everywhere with this book. And I did really enjoy it. There was times it was a little bit long-winded, which you sometimes get with fantasy books, but overall I did quite enjoy it, but it definitely did take me on a journey. 5 is Ruby Red Slippers, an iconic bookish item, and for this one I'm going to go with Alexia's Parasol in the Parasol Protectorate series by Gail Carringer. I've only read the first book on this, which is Soulless, but Alexia is really into her parasol, which kind of she really uses to really kind of like whack people who are trying to attack her, and it comes in really useful. So she's definitely a little bit in love with her parasol, and it's very special to her, and she always carries one around with her, and yeah, it's definitely kind of iconic item in this series. Number 6 is a Scarecrow, a book that made you think, and for this one I'm going to go with The Nightingale by Kirsten Hanna, because there's a part of The Nightingale where it kind of, and I could actually, for this one I could also say The Girl You Left Behind by Jojo Moyes, because both of them are both kind of centered around similar themes. Some kind of focus around these French towns who've been taken over by German forces, and about the women of these towns and what they kind of have to do to survive and to keep their families alive. And it just really made me think about how like there's so much when you like obviously read about the war and you watch movies about the war and stuff like that, which is to do with the soldiers and the people kind of on the front and the people really in the midst of the action. But then there was so much going on at home and in these women's homes, where a lot of the time they had to feed these soldiers who were killing their husbands and their sons and their brothers and, you know, their family. And sometimes they were raped, and sometimes they were kind of coerced into getting into a relationship with these people. And if they did go into a relationship with them to keep themselves alive and to keep their children alive, they were shunned by the rest of the village and treated basically like dirt because they were like sleeping with the enemy, even though sometimes they weren't doing it because they wanted to do it. And it just really made me think about those kind of things, and just kind of those, I don't know, just that little part of the war that's not touched on as much as, you know, obviously the parts that you would think of first when it comes to war. But yeah, it definitely made me think a little bit about those women and what they had to go through. The Tin Man, a book that gave you all the feels, and for this one I'm going to go with Dog Crazy by Meg Donoghue. There was a bit in this book that is talking about the death of a pet dog, and it just really got to me. And I was reading it like on the train into work, and I was like trying not to cry. I had like the biggest lump in my throat and like tears in my eyes, and I think a few people were looking at me funny because they could see that I was getting really emotional over something, but it was so hard not to just burst into tears on the train while I was reading that, because I was thinking of my dog who died a few years ago and just my feelings over her, and it was pretty tough to read. Number 8 is The Cowardly Lion, a character that seems tough on the outside but it is actually a little bit of a softie on the inside, and I'm going to go with Ridley Ducanis. I actually don't know how to say her second name, but Ridley from the Beautiful Creatures / Dark Creatures series by Cami Garcia and Margaret Stoll. She is a dark caster, which is kind of like a black witch, and she kind of lets that define her, and she kind of does evil things because she's a dark caster, but she's actually quite soft on the inside and she's quite emotional, and she kind of lets her feelings get away with her a little bit sometimes, while at the same time pretending that she has no feelings. I read all of the Beautiful Creatures series, but I actually didn't really like the last couple of books. I really only liked the first book, and I did try the spin-off series which focuses on Ridley, but I only got to the first one and I decided not to continue on with it because I just wasn't enjoying the writing that much. But she's definitely a character that is a softie on the inside, but really exudes this tough girl image, where she's really not that much of a tough girl. Number 9 is Lions, Tigers and Bears Oh My, a spooky book. And for this one I'm going to go with The Dead House by Dawn Kurtgich. This is about a person who is basically two different people. It's one girl, but during the day she's one person, and then during the night she's another person. It's kind of like almost like two souls inhabiting the same body, and they write like journal entries to each other to let them know like what they've been doing during the day / during the night. And things just go really, really creepy, and there's this whole mystery around this fire that left people dead, and they have something to do with it, and it's just super weird, and I don't even really know how to describe it that much, but it was definitely a bit spooky at times. Number 10 is The Emerald City, your favourite book setting. I don't have any particular like book, because for me I really just love those high fantasy, detailed, descriptive like settings, such as like a kingdom or like a city, like something like, you know, the city that's in the Lies of Locha Lomora, where it's almost a little bit like Venice, except like a real fantasy-esque version of Venice with the canals and, you know, the alleys and stuff like that. And then like places like Hogwarts that's filled with magic and history and just exudes this kind of feeling, I guess. And I just love those places where you can almost hear what people would be hearing when they're living in these places and smelling the smells, and you're just really there while you're reading the book. And I really find that with really great fantasy series, I find that you get those kind of feelings, and when the description works really well like that. So those are definitely some of my favourite settings. Number 11 is A Poppy Field, a book that puts you to sleep, and for this one it has to be the Sword of Shannara trilogy by Terry Brooks. I have no idea how I got through that because it was so boring. I was like pulling my hair out with frustration while trying not to fall asleep at just the endless, pointless descriptions that were going on with it. I was just so bored. There was just so much repetition. I hated it so much. I was actually really sad that I hated it because I really loved the TV show because it was a little bit different to the book, and then I really love his Magic Kingdom for Sale series, and yeah, this one was just completely different to what I thought it would be, and I was just so bored during it. 13 is Glinda the Good Witch, a character that is all good. And for this one I'm going to go with Luna Lovegood in Harry Potter. Like, Luna is just so good. Like, I don't think you could ever imagine Luna being mean to anyone. Like, I think she would actually be like nice to like the Death Eaters and stuff. Like, I think she was actually pretty nice to them when they captured her. But yeah, I don't think I could ever see Luna being anything other than just this really nice, airy fairy kind of person. Number 14 is The Wizard of Oz, a book that looked impressive but it ended up being a letdown. And for this one I'm going to go with Starborn by Lucy Hewson. For this one I really thought I was going to get this really great, detailed, high fantasy, like what I was talking about before with the setting, and it was just really bland and boring and going around in circles, and I just wasn't getting the information I wanted out of it. And yeah, I just really hated it. I think I only gave it like a 1 or 2 stars, but it was really disappointing. 15 is The Man Behind the Curtain, a book with a great twist. And for this one I'm going to go with The Inquisition by Tara Mataru. This is a book I read recently and it just left me reeling at so many different points. I can't say too much about it because it is a sequel to it in a series, but yeah, and it left off on such a hanger that was both, the end of it was a twist and a cliffhanger, so it's just left me dying for the next one. I just need to read the next one right now. 16 is There's No Place Like Home, a book that feels like home. And I'm going to go with the cliche answer, which is Harry Potter obviously, but a few other books are the Under the Never Sky series. Some of my favourites like The Bronze Horseman by Paulina Simmons, and then also Blind Beauty by K.M. Payton is one of my favourites, a Silver Brumbury. I also love, which is a childhood favourite, so all of those ones feel like coming home to me, and I love reading them and just falling back into the story that I love. And yeah, they're kind of the books I will reread for the rest of my life, and I just love them to pieces. So that is it for the Wizard of Oz book tag. I'm not completely sure right now who I'm going to tag, but I will leave the people I tagged down below, and I'll also tag them on Twitter obviously, so look out for that in case I tag you. And until then, I'll see you guys again next time. Thanks for watching.